Oh, morning, we're on air. Welcome to all you watchers live on YouTube. This is the Ōtorohanga Council meeting for the 31st of March, 2026. Thank you all for attending. We'll start off with an opening karakia, please. If you know it, we'll join in. Māti whakapono, Māti Tināko, Māti Hetero, Māti Whakarongo, Māti Mahi, Māti Panaui, Māti Te Aroha. Thank you. And this morning we've got some words of wisdom from Miss Councillor Woodward.
I'd like to start by acknowledging that we all come into this room with different perspectives, priorities and experiences, and that diversity isn't a weakness, it's one of our great strengths. We take the time to genuinely listen to one another. As we work through today's discussions, I encourage us to focus not just on what is easiest or most immediate, but on what will stand the test of time. The decision we make here shape the future of our community, and that responsibility deserves careful thought and steady judgment. It's natural that we won't agree on everything, but even in disagreement, there is opportunity to challenge ideas constructively, to sharpen our thinking and arrive at better outcomes together. Respectful dialogue will always carry more weight than loud voices. At the end of the day, we're all here for the same reason: to serve our community to the best of our ability. If we keep that in the centre of our decisions, we give ourselves the best chance of making choices we can stand behind with confidence.
No. Well done. Thank you. That's a bit echoey, eh?
Yeah, myself. Just check if the computer's on mute.
Testing. This is off.
Nadia's our IT expert. Testing.
Not on the screen. Now, we're all good to go, I think.
Recording in
I hope my mum and
progress.
dad are watching. This is great.
See, we're missing you, Dave, because I'm sure you're watching. No, it sounds better, right? Doesn't it? Yeah. I think
that's better.
It might be my computer. Anyway. Okay.
Thanks for spreading my word.
Thanks for that. Thanks for the words. Apologies. We have no apologies. Do we move and second that? No, don't feel that. This morning we've got in our public forum, Heather is going to come up and speak to us. So if you'd like to. Yes, please. Yep.
Get a seated. These things always run away from me. I fell off one of these the other day. I don't need to get too close, you'll be fine. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Is that better? Good.
Yeah. Good morning, Heather. Just before you start, because you've got the privilege of being my very first. Actually, I shouldn't say privilege because I say that word too often. Been my very first public speaker since I've been mayor. So welcome to that. Yeah, it's quite an occasion for me.
Okay.
Just for the new elected members, though, my understanding of the public forum is Heather's got 5 minutes to speak. We're to listen, and I'm sure we will. But it's not for us to make an opinion or make any decisions on what she may ask, request, or So we just listen, and then we'll take her comments away. And if we do something, ask questions. You're free to ask questions for clarity, but yeah, it's not this forum to make a decision on anything, or even keep your opinions. Okay, please.
Okay.
Go ahead, Heather. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Heather Panton-Lewis, and I'm quite a newcomer. New Plymouth last July, but having come here, I chose to come here. I've always loved the area, and I've loved Ōtorohanga, so I probably come with fresh eyes, so I see maybe one thing or another that maybe other people don't. But I come here with good intentions, and I have a caring heart for community and children especially. I've had two of my own, but they've flown away, literally. But yeah, I have a caring heart, so that's the main thing I want you to know. My biggest thing that drew me here is I live in Sergeant Place, and we've got a lot of children there, and they play on the road, good or bad. But there's a lot of them, and they play on the bikes and so on. And I just see potential for, I suppose I say tragedy, but both from floods, flood waters, and from traffic. And I've been in other parts of New Zealand, and I've seen what tragedy can actually do to a community, and it affects the whole community. And it takes years to recover, and I don't want that to happen here. So yeah, I just come as a warning voice, and yeah, to help you guys help that not happen, you know, to guard us from that kind of terrible thing. Like I know we lost one guy in the floods, and let's hope that's all we lose. So the main thing, I didn't bring anything printed or anything today because I ran out of time. I was aiming to present something to the community board, but then I found out I didn't have to go that way. It had to go to you guys. So today I'm bringing just a few comments about the floodwaters, and then next month I'll bring to you comments about concerns about the traffic on Ōtorohanga Road. Because yeah, I feel like I'm living under a Boeing 747, and I'm just not. Okay, so I think main thing is that we don't have any road markings or signage around that junction, the junction of Sergeant Place and Ōtorohanga Road, and then actually the slip road that comes off State Highway 3 and into Ōtorohanga. So there's lots of giveaways, but there's no marks to say they're giveaways. And I'm really quite horrified because I'm sure someone's going to do it and just go into somebody. And that really quite horrifies me. I think it's by good luck rather than good judgment now that we actually have yeah, so when I started thinking about the flood that came about under the rail bridge, that took us all by surprise because I was aware that there were flood issues on the other side, you know, towards the stop banks, but I wasn't aware that to be on the lookout for anything on my back garden side. But they came, the flood came within that inch getting into my garage. And that shocked me, and it also concerned me greatly because I only have one asset. I haven't got a lot of money, and I managed to buy this house without a mortgage. I'm a pensioner, and if that flood had got in there and got through all my house, because it would have just got everywhere, and I can't afford that. I can't afford to lose everything I've got. And I still have some of my daughter's boxes and my son's boxes. And yeah, and that shocked me because no one ever said, oh, it floods on that side as well now, you know. And people say, oh, it always floods there. And some people say, no, it doesn't. And then there's a lot of whispering going on about pumps that didn't work or should have worked. And there's pumps that yeah, they're not as good as they used to be, and there's a lot of stuff going around. And so I said to you, Rodney, that I think we need a bit of a question and answer session with certainly the Sergeant Place people, possibly some of the residents from the old Tikuiti Road. I've heard that they would like to get a bit of information as well, because that's another junction that gets a lot of traffic, but people don't seem to be aware where the road markings are supposed to be. And we're supposed to have dotted yellow lines along part of Atiwa Road. Well, I came across a double truck parked there one day, and like, there's nowhere to park a truck, you know, on that junction. And we've got a couple of bends as well, blind bends. And it's not until you see the narrow escapes that you know, you find yourself thinking, yeah. And that flood, which started off under the rail bridge, spread all the way to my house, and I'm number 1. And it crept under the fences, crossed the grass, and was just about to go into my garage. And I wasn't prepared for that. And we just need to do a real nuts and bolts. What happened to that? Why is that? Why was it so bad? And what we're going to do to make sure it doesn't get that bad. It also went across State Highway 3, and there were people going under the bridge when the man in the little the orange top was sitting in his truck. He moved his truck to try and stop people going under there, but there were still people, including a truck, that went steam ahead and it wasn't going to stop for anybody.
Okay.
And that's when I decided I was going home to make sure that my home was still dry. But yeah, it was a nasty shock. And because I live alone, and I've just discovered my house does not have an emergency exit, which I might take up with planning at some stage, because I don't have an out.
Yeah.
And I'm disabled, so I can't climb through windows or anything like that.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Have we got any questions for Heather regarding the flooding? Yes, Councillor Butcher.
Kia ora. Through you, Chair. Hi, Heather. I'm Jo Butcher. How are you? Good. Just can you clarify to me, you were talking about two things, more so about is there no giveaway sign coming out of Sergeant Place?
There's actually a stop.
There is a stop
Yeah,
sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's got very confusing because there's a 70, and they put a 70 zone actually in Sergeant Place, not at the end of it. So it's got very confusing as to where the line should be.
Okay. And then on Ōtorohanga Road, you mentioned about yellow lines. There are no yellow lines because that truck was parked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because it's resealed at different points, they haven't always gone back in to redo the lines.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I don't know a lot about it, but I mean, I know bits because just due to my own experience, but yeah, they need to get back in and to redo the lines. And of course, when it flooded, they've resurfaced a bit under the bridge, under the rail bridge, but they need to get back in and to finish doing the road markings.
Okay. Yep. Thank you very much, Heather, for your presentation.
I'm happy to.
Yeah. You're welcome to
partake
sit in the
in
back
any-
and listen to our meeting today if you want.
Yeah.
You just can't say anything. Unless you want to stand for council next time.
Sorry, I had another gentleman who came with me. He wasn't going to speak, but he was my support.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing. Oh, yeah, I'll help you. We're moving on to late items. Got no late? We've received no late items. We've got any declaration conflict of interest, any of the matters concerning today's meeting? Nope, tick that one off. Thank you. So moving on to confirmation of minutes from the last meeting. Do we have a movement second today?
Yeah.
Give me guidance, please, Steve. Do we have a move for the two? Moves Councillor Carr, seconded Councillor Jeffries. Any matters arising from those minutes? In my hand, please.
On the back of the discussion around the roading closed for Anzac Day, was there something, an update on that?
So we're not there. Sorry. Yeah.
Through the chair. Yes, the request went through to close the road between the Elevate building and the pharmacy, so that it opens up through there. We are still waiting for NZTA's final confirmation and approval of the traffic management plan. So right now I have no update, but we did request it.
So confirmation received is the same.
Sorry, can I just ask a question about that? So, Kaya, sorry for my misunderstanding, where is the road going to be closed from then? Sorry.
So the intersection just up here, there is between the pharmacy and the Elevate building. So this side of that intersection. So not
Side,
that side of
so
it.
that if a truck came down, it could still be.
Yes.
Like, so if a truck turned from 31 left.
Yes, it's to
Okay.
allow the
Like- Yeah, okay.
the buses and to come in behind and do a loop through Wahanui and go back out that way.
Perfect, thank you.
And that's still going to knack us, our truckies. That's it. Okay, so we're on to my verbal report. Since the last meeting, I had a meeting with Barbara Kruger at the QQ Hall, and we talked to flood victims and the MPs, what support they could give. They started assigned another state of emergency, terminating the state of emergency, but we're now assigned to recovery, which I've actually done twice since then. So we've moved to recovery. Good thing I did do is go to Don McGlashan Hamilton Gardens concert. I was offered that from Momentum actually. They see me on TV and thought I needed a break. So that was nice of people to support like that. We had a Waikato Mayoral Forum meeting. I had a meeting with Fed Farmers, got invited to that when Simon Watts was the minister was there speaking, and it was quite a constructive meeting, just talking about issues. We went up and met with the Mangere Road residents and just discussed their flooding things they've had. Then I attended 100 years of Ōtorohanga Fire Brigade celebration. At a regional transport meeting, we went and had a meeting with all the QQ residents about their issues of flooding. Then I started one of my the Waipapa Marae Pokai, and then the Makatu Pokai and Okapu, which I found to be really, really cool, even though I didn't understand one of the words, but it was just the occasions were just well worth attending. So thank you to all there, and the food was beautiful. The bus tours we went on, we all did that. Then I had my first citizenship ceremony, which I found quite good too. In another regional transport workshop, and then we had the Powhori at the Tikanga Kohitanga Marae next door to me for the Tuia program. So we had the whole of North Island all do the first weekend there of the Tuia students from all around, which was, I thought that was really nice day. Had a meeting with Matthew Cooper from Sport Waikato. We had a pizza night with the Phillips Ave residents that were storm affected. I had a Zoom meeting actually with a guy called Danny Cowser, who's actually a Texan and he's in New Zealand, going around New Zealand doing a study on local government, local body government. He was quite an interesting chap to listen to. So I thought that was quite cool. I went to the Elevate meetings, listened in on that. We had an online meeting with Nicola Willis and Simon Watts about the fuel crisis. And not that they can do much about it, I think, but anyway, it's another thing. We had our GNZ Zone 2 meeting. Then we had a risk and insurance meeting yesterday. And the Warriors had 2 wins and a loss. And that's my report. I'll move that. Can I move that? Yeah. I have a second, councillor Carr. And anything matters from my report that anyone would like to? Jolly good. So now we're moving on to an information report that is going to be presented by Nadia, I'm assuming. Thought I had it.
Yeah, you put it.
Nadia. Oh, yeah. Morning, Nadia.
Morena koutou, e te promātua i ngā kaikoni hira. Right, so this report provides council with a high-level update on where we are at in terms of recovery from the February severe weather event. As you'll be aware, while immediate response phase has now passed, there remains a significant amount of recovery work underway across our district, particularly for our affected homes and placarded properties. Still a little bit left in the infrastructure and some technical assessments that are underway. The report is intended to give council and public visibility on the current recovery position and the main issues that are still sitting across our 4 recovery sectors and the work that's underway. By way of a further update to what you've received in the report, our yellow placarded properties have increased to 23. I acknowledge there was some discrepancy within the report. My apologies. They were changing as the report was being written, and I missed one. We've also submitted a high-level recovery financials and funding pressures spreadsheet to NEMA. These have been aggregated across the councils who were affected by the January and February flood events. NEMA then take that collated data and engage with any potential local, regional or national government funding sources to understand where these pressures may be met through existing mechanisms. So what that means is it's very unlikely that there'll be a pool of money put aside separate from what already exists in budgets. That in turn builds a national consolidated picture of recovery funding requirements and what those shortfalls will be across the various councils. However, this will no doubt be impacted by last week's further weather events that affected some of the same districts that were hit in January. To be clear on the role of NEMA, they're playing the role, I guess, of aggregating and coordinating the information across the system. They're not the decision makers. Decisions about whether specific funding sources are used or where the shortfalls might be met still sit with our relevant agencies and ministers. So your connection with them, Mayor Rodney, is important. Other than that, I'm happy to take any questions of the report. Oh, yes, so, well, we did that in the workshop, but fair enough, some might not have, some of our members might not have been here. So I do have my recovery colleagues behind in case you ask me questions I can't answer. So we have Chris Ryan, who joined us right from the response phase. We've got Robbie, who is one of our team members upstairs, manager engineering projects. Is that about right? Yeah. And now full-time recovery. We've got Kathy Shaw, who is part of our shared service. And we have Ali over there, who is our new comms manager. We also have Rebecca in the background, extraordinaire, does everything, and Cassidy, who is currently on bereavement leave.
Thank you. Any questions or everyone's?
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, Tennille. Yes, please.
Nadia, and is welfare still a part of this recovery? I'm just thinking in terms of mental health, what's out there, because now that we have our fuel prices that is exacerbating everything. Yeah, is that still available for our flooded families?
Yeah, it's a good question and one that can get a bit confusing. So within, as you've experienced within the response phase, there are various functions and welfare is a function within that. within the recovery phase, we move to 4 sectors: the built environment, natural environment, economic, and what we call social or community. So the welfare, I guess, aspects of recovery sit in that community sector. Kathy Shaw is leading that. So there are continual check-ins with our affected residents. And if there's any escalation needed to psychosocial support or counselling, that's the role of the community sector lead, in this case, Kathy, to make sure that those, that we know of them and that those connections are being made.
Councillor Jeffries.
Thanks, Your Worship. Good report, thanks, Nadia. Yeah, and congratulations to the team. They've done a magnificent job. So being sort of out on the coast and sort of almost on the limb, really, looking in and just seeing what was happening in here was quite an eye-opener for us. Yeah. Just a quick question there. In the report, there was mention of 116 people being displaced at the time the report was written. Is that still current? And where are those people actually living?
Residing?
Residing.
Yeah, they're residing in various places. So but Kathy might be able to speak more directly to that.
Sure.
Some are being supported through their insurance companies. Some are being supported through the temporary accommodation services, which is an MB service, and some will be staying with friends. Anything to add to that?
No, that's correct. We were very fortunate to find that of the 4 people who didn't have insurance, TAS were able to pick them up, the temporary accommodation services. So everybody is either being covered by the insurance or by staying with family and friends. We did have some who were put into temporary accommodation for the 14 days that we covered them, and then they were picked up, and they might still be at the holiday park, but their accommodation has been covered by the temporary accommodation services. So everybody of those 115 people, there shouldn't be any hardship that we've heard, and we haven't heard of any, and that will be covered.
And so how long do you anticipate that situation will continue?
We'll continue until they have their new normal. So if they are waiting for their house to be renovated, or the insurance company is, what normally happens is the insurance company will then be the broker with getting everything fixed. So for example, Lady Phillips have her insurance company, because they've got animals and they want it to be close, they put cabins on her property.
Okay.
And a portable toilet and shower facility.
Right.
So she could stay there and look after her animals, look after her dogs. Her children had their toys there. And then they are now being the broker between getting the builders in and all of that. So it all just will happen. Some of them have got problems with geotechnical through the natural hazards process. And again, the insurance companies are being the broker between the property and the natural hazards people. So that takes a bit of that stress away from the actual residents.
Right. And just one other, at yesterday's Risk and Assurance, Chairman Peter Stubbs commented that the 1 in 250 year flood events, or events that we get, seem to be happening almost on an annual basis now. And so I was just wondering, in terms of, are you able just to comment very briefly on how we're actually going to accommodate or provide for any future events in terms of funding and those sorts of issues?
Well,
Can't wait for this now.
Oh, yeah, me too.
This is going to be.
give me a moment.
Yes.
Collect myself.
Not trying to drop you in it,
No, there's lots of factors, I guess, that that play into the financial burden for local government when it comes to events such as this, and the reoccurrence and that is taking place. When I think about what happened at the end of last week, a lot of these councils were hit in January as well. So some of these residents have already repaired and moved back into their yellow stickered properties and have been hit again. So I guess from a council perspective, we need to be thinking about what it is that we need to have in reserve, and not just for, I guess, the response phase and the cost that comes along with that, but also the recovery phase. So I know you have a report coming following this one about funding for recovery. I went to a recovery forum event in Auckland at the end of last year, and Auckland Deputy Mayor Dempsey, is that her name? Dempsey, yes, had a wonderful presentation, but she spoke about how Auckland now put aside money every year into a pot that isn't touched for anything else except for recovery from an emergency. So there's avenues like that that are probably worth exploring, potentially through the long-term plan development. Yeah, but those are decisions for governance.
Add to that through you, Chair, we talked yesterday at Risk and Assurance Committee. So Auckland would have done that because they're nearly at their debt ceiling. We're not nearly at our debt ceiling. So putting aside a rainy day fund might not be something that we do here. We rather do that through our reserves and through our debt capacity. So decisions for council to make perhaps in the next LTP.
Yeah, through you, not your worship. Your chair. Yeah, I guess.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's very hard. Yeah, there's options out there. I guess the fundamental consideration for elected members for council is, what is your plan? Yeah.
Make a plan. Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Woodward. Cheers.
Just wondering on the yellow stickered and white stickered properties, what's the future look like for those? How much do we engage with those property owners around actually what stage they are, or do they just sit on the books forever, or how do we get a resolution out of those?
Yeah, so there's varying groups, I guess, that we've been able to classify the yellow stickered properties in. Some have been damaged by overland flows, such as those in Phillips Ave. A lot of those are being worked with directly with their insurance company. When they're at a time where they've done those repairs and they want us to come back in and reassess those yellow stickered properties, then they'll get in contact with us. We'll assign a case manager, if you like, just to help them navigate that council regulatory process, knowing that it's quite complex and that they're already in a fairly stressful situation. We want to make that as easy as possible. Also, our regulatory team have said that they will prioritise those, just to make sure that we try and make that as smooth as possible for them. There's another group which have really, I guess, the landslide or the land instability group. They're also dealing directly with their insurance companies. There'll be varying degrees of intervention or remedial work that needs to be done, but that's essentially handled by their insurance company, who, if they need to, will also deal with the Natural Hazards Commission, which used to be EQC. So that's where that sits. And then we've got the likes of the Kiokio Station group. That was a combination of overland and then the stream came up, and so they've been significantly impacted. We're in the process at the moment of having a technical assessment report produced for us that we will then share with the owners and their insurance, so they can make informed decisions about whether they rebuild and move back into that place, or whether there's another option that they want to explore. All the while, we've got our community sector people keeping in contact with them, and doing what we can to support across all those sorts of areas, from psychosocial to, I guess, the technical necessity work that needs to be done.
Thank you. Councillor Barker.
Yeah, sorry, thank you. It was a similar question to what Councillor asked. I just, like, we went to that meeting with Rodney and Chris, so definitely I just sort of Chris feeling it was positive. Sort of different. Just my apology. The meeting we had at QQ, Chris, with the residents around you, whether conversations were positive, or how you sort of felt the situation was heading.
It's a very challenging situation, isn't it? And I think we saw tears and a lot of concerns. That conversation is happening at a very early time in the journey that those property owners are on, and that the nitty-gritty of the conversations with their insurer. and some of the choices that they need to make. I thought it was a positive meeting. I think that, I felt that the affected group, appreciated the fact that they had an opportunity for a face-to-face conversation. That time was, but we're certainly nowhere near, even the end of the first stage of that thinking. So that answers the questions. Yeah, I just.
Yeah. We're still waiting on that report to be finalised. Meanwhile, from a psychosocial perspective, we've got Cheryl who's checking in with the
Position.
that is.
Councillor Butcher.
Kia ora through you, Chair. Just in relation to, you said that last week's weather event, was there further problems from that, or was it delays? You mentioned just briefly.
Not from us, not for us. So
Right.
last week's weather event hit further north.
Oh, you
We
mean you were talking about further north?
Yeah,
Okay,
and
sorry.
just I guess expressing the
How that makes people feel.
yeah,
Mm.
and from a funding perspective, from a national funding perspective, I think we're now at 72% of the country who are in recovery. And so we've got NEMA who are trying to pull together every council's funding request, and then as they think they've got a handle on it, another event hits that then changes the goalposts.
Thanks for clarifying that, Nadia. And then just with the white sticker houses, can you just remind us where those are? They, like, for want of better words, are they off the books now, or is there still sort of some help with them, or like, are they all okay now, or?
I'm looking at Tony for help with the white sticker properties. So my understanding of white sticker properties is people can still live in them. It's lower level impact, so it might be wet carpet or things like that.
Or,
Not
or the mud
displaced.
underneath their house?
Yeah, or the
something
mud,
like that?
yeah. So
Okay.
it doesn't prevent people from living within those homes. When it comes to having a placard removed or reassessed, councils don't do that automatically.
Mhm.
So that's for the property owners to request that council come back and reassess those.
Right, so far, we still have 37 white stickers because the property owners haven't requested those to be removed, correct? Oh, cool, thanks for clarifying that. Right. Oh, okay, then that leads into probably, how long might that take? Theoretically being less of an issue than the yellow stickers and red sticker properties.
Now I'm going to have to ask for some help here because there's something about we do reassessments every 90 days, but I don't know if they're necessarily on site.
Right.
And stickered property and stickers can stay up to 3 years on a home. Is that right, Tim?
So we have a report coming up and 2 reports after this one, which will probably answer that question. But that's pretty much it. So every 90 days we do have to reassess. So I'll maybe explain it in the report that is coming up, because we've got a designation over our entire district, which is another nuance that we need to tell you about as well. So it's a little bit complex.
Oh, cool. And on Mangati Road, in relation to Kyokyo Station Road, so how are they feeling? Especially it's probably the farmer that had the brunt of the worst of it down the bottom there. You know, Chris, you talked about Kyokyo and how they're feeling through Councillor Barker. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about privacy.
Yeah.
A little
okay.
bit.
Fair
in the
enough.
public setting.
Yeah, I feel we're in a public meeting through you, and asking how people are feeling might be a
Okay.
little hard for our team to answer.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Everyone's a bit stressed to a bit.
Yeah.
Obviously.
That's a good answer. Councillor Tamaki, please.
Kia ora, Lena. Just in this proposed recovery structure, I'm aware of iwi and where they kind of sit in this structure. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be there, just bear in mind that the PSGs kind of beat their own drum, so their whole world and their function is a little bit outside of what council kind of does. And I think sometimes they're delayed to the party to help because their focus is in a little bit of a different kind of vision. And I think, like, if I would hate to think that they're not there or not seen to be there to help when they're actually doing some other kind of things. As we know of lately with the tangi antiquity, so it's literally taken out a whole of Māoridom throughout Aotearoa. So you're not, if you want any of them, go to Te Kuiti Park, you'll find them, they'll all be there. So yeah, I'm just aware of where they're kind of structurally put, and it might just be comms, it might just be who here and there, but sometimes they are a bit thin on the ground. So
yeah, so through you, Mayor Dow, so I spoke with both Donna Flavel and Sam Lepaiti about their role in recovery. And so they are really keen to receive pānui that give them updates. We have reached out with our draft recovery plan, and I've asked Cassidy when he comes back to see if we can just get a short hui with them just to confirm their role. They were both very keen that marae and that were the kind of touch points for the on the ground, so we've had that kōrero, and also they are really keen for us to involve them in a debrief to talk about how they get involved at the start should we have another event. So that was their greater concern is around if this happened again, how do we engage early? So yeah, so good conversation.
yeah, great clarity around, like I think when you just see iwi, you think just put it to. So thank you.
Councillor Backman.
Kia ora, Nadia and team. Thank you for your efforts through this recovery phase and sharing the updates with us. I just had a question under the build sector in the discussion with the 3.8 million estimated with the roading recovery. Is that cost to council, or does that also include maybe some repairs from NZTA, if any? And what does that look like?
Knight's head was down, he didn't hear the word roading in there. So NZTA is approached to come to the party with a lot of that funding. In terms of where those breakdowns are at the moment, Mark can talk to that.
So the 3.7 or 3.8 million you just mentioned. So because we were still in a recovery from a previous storm event in October, our bar rate or funding assistant rate was at 83%, stays at 83%. So NZTA will be funding 83% of the repairs. So whereas we normally sit at 63%. Is that the question?
So the amount though in there is just for our local roads.
Only ours.
It's not, it doesn't include any of the highways. Yeah, it's just ours.
Good. Thank you, Nadia. I think you've answered all the questions and your team. We need to move it. We have a mover and a seconder. Move Councillor Woodward, seconder Councillor Carr. All in favour? Against? Next up to the podium, Mr. Brendan O'Callaghan. Well, item number 28 is on page 44 of your. The money man is his other name.
Thank you. Yes, so this report is following on, I guess, from Nadia's report. It's about how we're going to pay for bits that we have to pay for this. So I'll take the report as read and I guess just answer any questions that might come out. There's nothing to update on what was put in here, no changes since this was written. So yeah.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Dow. So I guess one thing that I would add is recommendation A, $100,000 for the funding of the Recovery Office. So we have done the spreadsheet for NEMA that Nadia referred to, and it doesn't come to $100,000. Our estimates are above that, but this kind of secures funding for this year, a remainder of this year, and then if we need more from you, we will come back and bring that to a future meeting. So I think it was it around double that, Nadia? Can you remember? I can't. Yeah, Nadia will find that figure. But yeah, we thought if we just put this in here for now, then we can do the homework and come to you, back to you. If we need.
Any questions? No? Obviously, the report was a great report. Shall I read through now? Or shall I move it? Can we move the resolution? Would you like me to read the resolution? Oh, move Councillor Jeffries, seeing the Deputy Mayor Christensen. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Oh, no. Item number. Oh,
Morena, so you may not have met Charlene Longman. Charlene is our.
I was going to introduce her, so she's a new, yeah.
Well,
Welcome, Charlene.
you take you on.
She's like a newbie like me, there's all these firsts that I've been having, and this is the first for you, so, yeah.
I was told once that after 3 months, you can no longer call yourself new. So not quite 3 months yet of that.
Oh, okay.
But Charlene, so this is a unique.
Joe Butcher used it last year every time. I'm new to this. Can I just? I thought you could do it for the whole training, but anyway. Yes. 3 years. Anyway, okay. So 3 months. Okay. Well, that's typical regulatory putting in rules. Anyway, thank you.
So just as a reminder, so Charlene has been appointed to cover both teams in Waitomo and Ōtorohanga. So it's quite a cool position, and she's doing a great job of that. But so we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about follow on from the other reports. It's Charlene's report, but if you're happy for me to do it opening, and I can respond to some of the questions that came up. So in the report, I won't go through it in detail, but obviously 22 dwellings remain stickered, and those people that you heard about earlier are displaced people. We have a number of white stickers that came up. So for this report, staff do have delegation. So a number of those houses we expect will need building consents. That's going to be an informed decision. That council doesn't make that decision, but the owners do in conjunction with their insurers. So you need to be really, and Nadia mentioned that, but just to be really clear around that, we don't proactively as a regulatory agency go out with the information to say, here's the information, you can no longer get a building consent. That's the decision that they make based on the risk assessment from the informed report that will go back to the insurers. If they then come to us and say, we want to reinstate, then we can go through the regulatory process. We want to help them through that. So we have made a commitment to prioritise those consents. When it comes to fees, while staff had the delegated authority to waive fees, we thought in these circumstances it was appropriate to bring it back to governors to make a decision collectively on should we waive fees for everyone in advance. They may not need building consent, so this is a bit preemptive, but it's to give them that reassurance that if they do, then they know there's a pathway forward. So we set out 4 options. We've landed on option, can't remember which number it was, but anyway, we've landed on one option, which is recommended that we proactively waive the fees in advance. But I just want to talk to some other things that came up as well. So Kit mentioned or asked a question, I think, around whether the 1 in 250 year event, this is our new normal. It was kind of expected and anticipated. And interestingly, February is our most volatile month, February to April. The 3 events we've had here, 2026, 2004, and 1958, all occurred in February. Mark mentioned October, so October is a little bit volatile as well. I've got a climate change workshop coming up, so this is why this is sort of top of mind for me. So what's happening globally is the subtropical lows are pushing south. They're going further south. They have more energy because there's more heat in the atmosphere, so they spin faster, and we're getting more of them. So it's a combination of subtropical cyclones coming south more often, more energy. Incidentally, the long-range forecast shows another red over Northland and our district between April 6th and 8th. So that's next week, mid-next week, and there's another one following about a week after that. So this is what we're seeing now, a pattern of these things coming down and heading us when they never used to. So just in terms of designations and buildings and how that works. So under the Building Act, and correct me if I'm wrong, under the Building Act, in a declared emergency, we can designate an area of building damage. It doesn't have to be a declared emergency. We can actually do that if there are isolated buildings that might have been damaged by another event which isn't declared emergency. Through this event, we decided, Waipā didn't because they don't have damaged buildings. We decided that we would designate the whole district as a building impacted area. And the reason for that is because we weren't sure at the time we made that designation if we might get other buildings pop up we didn't know about. And what it means is that when we do the rapid building assessments, those placards stay on there after the declaration has ceased. And so we were a little bit worried about some of them, but we knew that some of them might have been impacted, and we're starting to get a little bit of intel around that. Luckily, that hasn't happened, but that's why we designated the whole district. We can do. So every 90 days under the Building Act, we go through and review. Do we still need that designation? Do we still need it for the whole district? Or do we hone it right down to the affected areas? We can keep doing that every 90 days for 3 years. And the reason for that is that gives the affected, impacted owners time to work with the insurers, to do the reinstatement, to get the consents. If worst case scenario, they did need to relocate, it gives them time to get all that together. So that's the process that's set up in the Building Act. Yes. So that's the summary. I think I've answered most of the questions, unless you've got anything else to add.
Thanks. So.
We're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Councillor Jeffries has a question.
Thanks, Your Worship. These events that have been occurring, do they affect things like limbs on individual properties? And will they also affect the, say, the regional council's flood plan? You know what I mean? Like where to build and where not to build, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So are those issues part of this deal, or is that something that's yeah?
Yeah, definitely. So any buildings which are impacted by weather or an event, that gets documented in a file system and that gets captured by the files. So I know that there, I guess, was some anxiety that maybe a couple of these buildings, and we heard from the public speaker earlier, with potential garage might have been close to being inundated. We don't capture that. So unless a building's been affected, if it's maybe close to being affected, we don't generally capture that. So these events are all now public record and they will be on the list going forward. So it's the first question. Regional Council have a lot of data. So as Nadia mentioned, we're getting a flood risk modelling assessment done for the impacted areas. We decided to do that proactively rather than go back to the insurance companies or the owners and ask them to do it. It was the right thing to do. So we're doing that. That information will feed back into the regional council as part of their metadata for the whole region. So this is localized data, localized information. That will then, they will change their modelling. They do a lot of modelling based on that information that's coming in. So the information always gets updated.
So just an aside from that, then, does that affect our own district plan in terms of?
It might come through in district plan when we, well, it's open to review. We don't have a plan. We can't review it now under the plan slot, but under the new regional plan, under the new Planning Act, when that comes through, maybe in 2, 3, 5 years, yes, all this information will be pulled in, and all the latest information at that point in time will be pulled.
Thank you, Councillor Woodford.
Yeah, cheers, Lenny. I suppose my question is, if we waive the fees, is there, what sort of influence do we have over the conditions for them to build back to certain standards? So raising the height of the building so that, you know, put them on piles or something like that. I suppose where I'm coming from is we don't want to be seen just be giving money out willy-nilly. And so some sort of tension there is good to encourage better behaviour from future investors in the area or in those sort of areas. So yeah, I suppose that'd be my thing. Do we have any sort of influence over what that looks like?
So we've got Jamie here for planning and might jump in as well. But so I guess the answer, not being facetious, is really it depends. So once we get this information done from the consultants on flood risk, that will go back to the insurers. They will then obviously have a duty of obligation to put that information into a risk assessment for whether they build back, and if they do, if they need a building to see what that looks like. If they do need to say raise them, if they decide that they do want to build back and they raise them, then that might trigger a resource consent, definitely trigger a building consent.
Initially, what's that? That be kind of that consideration as part of the consent application.
So these fees would, in theory, cover that. So what we've asked for is up to a maximum of $30,000. We haven't identified how that might be eligible. Whether, and I'm just thinking now out loud actually, whether you wanted to pro rata that a proportion across all the properties. There might be one property, for example, that has more needs and more fees than another property. So there's potential equity thing there as well. You might want to consider when you come to the past this position.
Councillor Carr.
Actually, Tony, yeah, that's pretty much what you just said was my question. So we're capping the waiver at 30,000, but the worst case estimate's 44,000, right? So if the actual consent cost exceeds the gap, who's responsible for the cost?
So I'm thinking out loud here about the potential amendments to the recommendation. I'm sure you might as well jump in. So you could have under B, in addition, whereby you authorise staff. So you've given us, if you decide to give us the cap of 3,000, you then authorise staff to apportion that on a case by case basis.
So if someone's 20,000, it's 20K. Someone's 34, 20.
And you might want to consider a cap per property. The problem we've got with that though is we don't know of those sticker properties, how many might need buildings or if any need resources. So it's a little bit uncertain.
Yep. And I've got another question, if that's okay. So are we going to treat this as a one-off measure, or is this going to become the template moving forward for any weather-related events?
So this is a case by case. It's a one-off. Staff think it's the right thing to do, but also there's a financial impact. So we can do up to staff delegation anyway. We could do it case by case, and that's one of the options we presented. So if that's your preference, that's certainly one of the options. But we're probably speaking in action to provide this level of comfort, I suppose, or people might need building concerns that they've got a pathway to.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Barker.
Thank you, Chief. Just thinking quite about particularly of the lights station.
Just select question, Mike, please.
Just not if you look at the likes of Station Road, if those people apply for a consent and it's rebuilt, will we be held responsible for floods again?
So the liability settings are what they are in the building. So building act has a liability settings already. You might ask this one, but we wouldn't sign off anything unless we're comfortable that it meets the building code requirements. They are looking at changing those liability settings. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, portion of liability is part of what they're looking at, but it's yet to be finalised. I do, they've been discussing that for a couple of years as well.
So I guess just because we're in a flood event, we're potentially going to issue building consents for things that might still be at some flood risk. Yes, that doesn't change our own.
Councillor Barker.
If these people are working with their insurance companies, instead of waiving the fees, wouldn't these costs be included in their claims?
So that's why we said under B, we know a funding source for that. Some of the insurance companies, you're exactly right, might cover refugee fees. And do, then we won't be double. But incidentally, the Mayoral Relief Fund doesn't include regulatory fees, so that and our local report kind of deals with people.
My thoughts on it, kind of like, it's almost better to encourage them to come and get a building consent. And if they think they could save a little bit of money, by not getting the building consent, it might be better, worse off, long term. Whereas, so if we actually just take that little barrier out, that's not a barrier, the cost is not a barrier. So hopefully that'll mean people will build back in a good way. It's just a thought, not really a question, sorry. I don't think a real purely source question for Charlene, because it's her first time, but I can't think of so anyway, so seems to be all the questions answered. You got to have some.
Just checking through you, Mayor Dow. So comfortable with B as it stands, not wanting to put caps on, leaving it to staff discretion to manage that?
I think something around the pro rata idea is a good idea. Because if you cap it, then it's hard and fast, right? But not everyone, as Tony pointed out, someone's cap might less than 30K, so they're getting 30K, but they don't necessarily need it. because it might be 20.
Yeah, I guess the trick with pro rata is we won't know immediately how many we're talking about.
Yeah, it's fair enough, but so how do we word it so we can cover that worst case scenario?
First four, we have indicated in the chapter 2, we've provided rough indications. So building consent, this is under paragraph 5. Building consent for straightforward reinstatement works for dwelling could be in the order of 800 to 2,000. So you may want to decide that you cap this at 2,000 people. That's the thought.
There could be situations where there are multiple buildings on one side. Consideration by two.
So that be per property or building, you thinking?
Per building.
Per building.
Well, my understanding of this is it's kind of a one-off just for this February event, and there's nothing stopping us in another meeting making another decision of. It's kind of a little bit like the Merrill Fund when we were giving out, the money. We kind of didn't know how much was going to come in, so we were kind of, very careful. And I mean, if something. It's really just to stop you coming back to every meeting and saying, "Oh, can we make a decision on this?" Or is that? It's kind of.
You're exactly right.
Just gives you a bit of flexibility without,
Exactly right, me. And the other thing I was going to say too is this doesn't set a precedent because it's a one-off specifically for this purpose. If we did have another event and we're in the same situation, we'd bring back a separate report probably, and you have the ability to make a different decision based on the circumstances. Yeah.
So that one-off will be clearly communicated to everyone. This is a one-off specific.
You could reflect that in your resolution if you thought that was.
Yeah, otherwise it may create a precedent.
Well, it says, or and A is the February weather event, so it's doesn't say 2026, so maybe. Yeah, councillor.
Okay. More.
Councillor Woodward first.
I suppose my preference would still be sort of to split the fees 50-50. I think it just would ensure that, I suppose, creates a positive tension versus just giving money out, not willy-nilly, but it's just giving money out. Obviously, people need it to get their resource consent, but at the same time, I don't know, I think it's just that it creates a bit of a partnership for that going forward. And then if they're investing some of their own money, there's just more buy-in for them carrying through to the full extent of what they're trying to achieve there, rather than just relying on us sort of convert back.
Councillor Kitty online.
Yeah, I do back the intent. I wouldn't mind some sort of report after it to see how it was, especially since we're going to expect more flooding. I just want to check if it actually works and there's no sort of backfire.
Through you, Adele, we can report back maybe through a generic recovery report rather than bringing you multiple reports on different things. We can probably put it in an omnibus. There's the word for you. An omnibus report. That's what we call council reports, where we cover more than one thing.
Councillor Butcher.
Through you, Chair. I suppose I agree with a lot of what's been said. I suppose what we've got to be mindful of is that in that disadvantage is there's a bullet point there saying potential concerns from unaffected residents about partly subsidising property owners in relation to an identified hazard area. So just being careful that, again, I think what's been said around the table, especially by Councillor Woodward and Carr, in relation to the properties where they are at the moment, not fully sure if they are going to be in the future, identified as a hazard area. So just watching out for that potential perception.
Councillor Carr.
Yeah, I quite like what Councillor Woodward said, but however, got to go for the warm fuzzy effect too. But I would like to see February 2026 and these just to cover our butt. Because you want to see to be, because there are people out there saying, on, didn't say 2026.
Yep.
And as you rightly pointed out, all the weather events seem to happen in February. So how far back do you go? But I just think as a essentially that's a one-off, and the feel good factor that it's going to come with it would be outweigh the cost benefit long term.
So through your, through you, Al, could I suggest an amendment under B, based on what I'm hearing, At the end of it, it says to a maximum of $30,000, comma, based on a 50-50 cost share up to a maximum of $2,000 per building.
So then we're not waiving all building and resource consent fees, like the recommendation needs to change because we say in full, so we're subsidising rather than waiving, aren't we?
What, so the full recommendation would then read, waive building and if required, resource consent fees for yellow stickered buildings. Where no other funding source is available to cover the fees, each insurance, to a maximum of $30,000 based on 50-50 cost share up to a maximum of $2,000 per building.
Yep, so 50-50 cost share with the property owner. What are we? Give us some direction.
I'm not sure. I don't mind as a one-off. Well, like where other, i.e. it says we know other funding's available, but shit, there's some pretty people that.
What about a 75 from us, 25? So it's still a little bit of buy-in, but we still.
I think, no, just, I think, the buy-in is the fact they're going to actually turn up and ask for resource consent. The thing that I fear, well, not fear, but, is that people think, oh, we'll just build, we won't even come and get a building consent. And then, well, it depends on, they own it. It might be an old building on a farm. They don't know where it's insured, but it's.
If we put in the money to get that resource consent put through, and then they go, oh no, I'm not going to do it now. They've just walked away with all of our work and money.
Yeah.
So that's where that tension's there to say, well, you've paid for half of it or whatever. It's up to you then whether you go through it, but we haven't just outlaid the whole cost for that resource consent.
Yeah, good comment, yeah.
Can I just clarify, please, through your chair? We're looking at options 1, 2, 3, and 4, aren't we? On deciding on
Yeah, but the recommendation is up on point 3.
point what?
Point-
We're looking at the recommendation that's on page 49.
Yeah,
Right.
but it is developed from those
Point
points.
3. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What do we do now? Who's
I think the crux of the debate, from what I'm hearing, is around whether we're waiving all the fees or subsidising the fees. I'm thinking administratively, it may be simpler to waive and acknowledge the estimates for a building consent that are between 800 and 2,000. And yeah, because otherwise I'm thinking it could be more administratively costly than it's we're doing.
Yeah, we might as well just say we're going to put a minimum of, we'll pay up to $1,000 for each building.
Do it that way. And as you say.
It may be more simple that admin wise rather than, so, but if it costs 1,500, well, it's only going to cost them 500, but they're still a buy-in, but if it costs them $2,500, then at least. So we're only actually we will subsidise every yellow sticker, up to, I don't know, that might be an easier way. Then we're still helping, the affected people, and they're also having to, it might be a quicker admin way.
Through you, Mayor Joe, is it just for houses or is it like Councillor Woodward said, like a detached garage, a detached shed? Like,
No, it's yellow stickered dwellings.
okay, so it's just for houses.
So it's only, there's 23 of them, so the worst case scenario is what, 46,000? If there was 2,000 per thing, so it's actually only 23,000 would be our worst case scenario. If we're 1,000, that's my understanding. Yeah.
And this is obviously to allow people the remedial action, or that do actually require the building consents to get back into their properties. Working with them a lot more, providing that ease, and as you say, encourage that compliance, taking that perceived barrier.
Yeah, I think that's not, so it's even less than that,
I quite like that.
Counts okay.
No, I quite like that's comfortable with that. I was happy paying the whole lot, but what Michael said was a good point. But then if they choose not to get a consent, if there's a future event, tough. See ya.
And some of them will be insured anyway, so there's out of the 23 houses, dwellings, might not. It's not,
I think the infill was something one property of all the listings in Oxford.
Oh. So that's kind of like yeah.
We'll cover,
That makes sense.
we'll cover $1,000 in one property, it's not sure.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a little something Kaya has prepared earlier. So this is how it's looking with the changes in red to see what your level of comfort is with that. We'll just move to kneel down a wee bit.
Shall I read it out and then we can
No.
move and second it or?
Hang on, what did, yeah, no, that's what we came up with, but didn't we just discuss $1,000 instead of 2,000? Like half?
That to be 1,000.
I don't know.
Or if there's only one house, it's only, yeah, what do you think?
Oh, I'm happy with it as it
I
is.
don't know how much buildings consent. I've built a building for a few years, so.
So the range in the report, indicative, it's indicative, it's
Yeah.
simple. See, it was 800 to 2,000. Correct. So that's the range.
So $1,000 would be, yeah, reasonable.
Yeah, go, I mean, it's just around setting the precedent for the future, because if we have another one where 100 houses are then affected, it's like, well, you gave these guys 2,000.
Yeah, no, I understand. I think that's really good logic. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's why it's really important that it clearly states it's a one-off based on that. Yeah, because that's exactly what will happen.
Kaya, you need to take out the infill bit under B.
Great. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
So I'm happy to move that. Have we got a second now?
Yeah, I'll second that.
I'm gonna give it to Dirk.
Yeah, that's right.
You're second everything. You're greedy.
It's one of those days, Rodney.
Anyway, so I'll read it out just so everyone's clear. The Ōtorohanga District Council. A, note the process and timeframes for dwellings affected by the February 2026 weather event. And B, waive building and if required resource consent fees for yellow sticker dwellings where no other funding source is available to cover the fees. That is example insurance, up to a maximum of $1,000 per dwelling to a maximum of $30,000 in total. Acknowledge that this is unbudgeted and will result in a reduced revenue in the building control cost centre. All right, jolly good. Yeah. Thank you, Charlene. You got through your first presentation really well. You might get 3 on the survey score. Probably doesn't know about that.
Yeah.
Oh, this is exciting. The next speaker.
Staying here.
Item 30, page 56. We have someone called Tanya going to present this for us.
Okay, Morena koutou. So this is the Waikato Triennial Agreement for this triennium that we're in, 25 to 28. We are required by legislation as a region to come together at the start of the triennium and agree a triennial agreement. The mayors have agreed at the last mayoral forum that the attached agreement is fit for purpose and reflects their priorities for the next triennium. So I'll just draw your attention to 2 parts of it. The first is the priorities that have been, or are the priorities that have been agreed on. That's 5.1 on page 57. So there's 4 priorities there. That you can read at your leisure, and I can answer any questions or Rodney can help me if you need to. The second one is 6.10, which is what does this cost us? So the Waikato Mayoral Forum is administered by our shared services agency CoLab, and we use a formula, a cost allocation methodology. Ōtorohanga District Council's contribution is 3.2%, or the grand sum of $352 a year, and this is met by existing budgets. Happy to take any questions.
I hope we've got some curly ones. Councillor Jeffries.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. These are just general. On page 61, under the heading Strategic Context, item 3, it mentions challenges including inequities in housing and so on. Does housing include social and emergency housing in that context?
Good question. I don't know.
And the question, I guess, is what more can we do as a council to earn the regional support for our local needs?
In terms of housing.
Yeah, because, you know, we had a housing committee previously, which
Mm.
had covered quite a lot of ground, and there's a lot of background information on the local situation, but I just wondered whether we can
Mm.
piggyback on that benefit.
Yes, so previously, in the last triennial agreement, in the last triennium, the mayors agreed that housing was going to be one of their priorities. So you'll see that it doesn't feature. There's a lot on reforms, collaboration, etc. It hasn't. Yeah, unless Rodney's had other discussions, or Mayor Dow's had other discussions, it hasn't featured in the discussions around the mayoral forum type.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not to say it isn't important. It's just trying to put resourcing where we sort of need it.
Sure. I think as long as it's not sort of forgotten about altogether. Yeah.
We've got Axel, who is now the mayor of Waikato district, and he might have even mentioned it at the last mayoral forum around.
Yes, I know he's a very strong supporter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. When we agreed to support regional transport, you know, sort of going back, which included the availability of bus services to and from Hamilton, the viability of a service between Kawhia and Ōtorohanga was mooted. This appears to have been forgotten conveniently or otherwise. Where did we get to with that? Because that was one of the reasons why I personally supported it at the time, because I thought there was an opportunity there to create a service that was much needed. But it doesn't seem to feature anywhere. Are we able to add this into our input into the regional strategy or
I think
not?
it's a different committee. The Waikato Mayoral Forum is different to the regional transport committee that I'm on. That's all the Waikato Council in the Waikato region.
Yeah.
We've got to do like a long-term plan, like, you know, so they're starting that process now. We've had that's what one of the
Right, so I thought it might have been part of
but
it.
it doesn't seem to come from the Mayoral Forum. That's transport's actually legislated and actual regionally we have to send a plan, and so there's talk about public transport and that as well.
Okay,
but that's, you know, that's what we're starting to craft now. The next long
right. So you sit on that committee.
Yeah, on that's regional.
Are you able to raise that issue for us?
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Thanks.
But it's different to the Mayoral Forum. This is all the years.
Yeah. Digressing on that through you, Chair, Kit, I'm also on the subcommittee of public transport.
Yeah.
Of which, you know, what happened started from Tomaranui right up to Hamilton. So I'll also, Kit, I've written that down.
Good one. Thank you. On page 62, under the heading role of the Mayoral Forum, item 10, it says the Mayoral Forum is a central governance and leadership body for advancing the region's collective interests. Is that just a general statement, or are the region's current and future collective interests being documented in some way? So that seems to be like a catch-all sentence there, but doesn't seem to have any body to it, if you know what I mean. So is there a document somewhere that actually captures the region's collective interests?
I think if you go back to what I referred to before, and which is 5.1 in the report, those 4 areas have been agreed to by the Mayoral Forum as being those collective interests. So they call them areas of focus. But in advancing those 4 things, it means the Mayoral Forum, particularly Mayor Tim from Hamilton, who chairs it, would be the spokesperson. The media releases get drafted and circulated round to the other mayors for comment, etc. So as a body that might engage with central government have already said we're not interested in talking individually to every council in the country.
Right.
We want regions to demonstrate that they are communicating and collaborating. Come to us with your challenges, opportunities, whatever they might be, collectively, acknowledging that there's differences. Yeah. a lot of differences across our region,
Yep.
but there are some similarities as well.
I think, Tanya, I just want to make
Thank
sure
you.
that Ōtorohanga's voice isn't being lost in any way.
I can guarantee I don't sit there quietly.
Yeah.
But, and the other thing I'd just like to comment on is we're actually it's just about all the mayors are new. There's only Toby left. On John Robertson.
Yeah.
So they're actually a whole lot. I mean, the first meeting we went to, they didn't even have anyone that had attended to agree on the minutes because no one was left from the last training. So we are kind of walking together, and I can tell you we're only 3% or whatever, but I made my 3% heard.
Good lad.
Yeah.
Just one other, on page 67, under the heading significant new activities, item 33, it says if the regional council or a regional council controlled organisation, blah, blah, blah. And the question there is, under the new regime, will Waikato Waters Limited become a regional council controlled organisation, or will it remain an individual council ownership?
Yeah, so at this point, all the legal documents that we've signed have those district councils as shareholders. So the regional council is nowhere mixed. They've been involved in discussions.
Yep.
They issue consents to us, and we'll have to novate those over to the company. But regional council, there's no talk of regional council becoming the administering body, and you know what's happening with central government's proposal around the regional council, so it's even less likely, I would say.
Yeah, no, I just get a bit twitchy about regional councils generally. So I just wanted to make sure that we weren't losing any control of our water, if you like, to a region. No, that's very good. Thank you.
Councillor Carr.
Yeah, I do. I'm happy to adopt it as presented. I thought it was very well presented. But I do have one question, and it might be slightly redundant, but if the simplifying local government reforms proceed and combined territorial boards replace the mayoral forum, does this triennial agreement effectively become redundant partway through the triennium? And if so, what is the contingency?
So just trying to
I'm
understand.
just trying to think, do you know the lotto numbers tomorrow?
Yeah. So you mean what's the contingency for this document?
So it's just null and void, right? It's
Yeah,
fine.
it is. It is. It's null and void. So I guess
Just start with new.
there may be something else in its
That's right.
place, some sort of agreement. Yeah, that will, I mean, the combined territorial board is required to create some sort of plan. I guess ahead of that, they will need things like terms of reference, how we're going to work together, you know, rules of working together, whether that's issued by central government or whether that's something that's created.
Worry about it if it happens, right?
Yeah, pardon?
Worry about it if it happens.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
No more questions? No questions on mine? No. Okay. Moved councillor Jeffries. Seconded councillor Barclay. All in favour? Right. Passed. Moving on. You don't want me to read that one out to you? Moving on to item 31. Page 70, please, Tony. Let's back up to the podium.
Hopefully this will be a quick one. It's just a procedural report to.
Yeah, I hope they've agreed. I've already signed it. Sent and gone.
To ratify. So just in terms of, I just noted that 1.1 talks about seeking ratification, but the recommendation is seeking endorsement. It's probably appropriate that endorsed changes to ratify, which is to give formal consent, making it officially valid. It just strengthens it a little bit. So I recommend that the Ōtorohanga District Council ratifies this issue.
Any questions? No? Do we have a mover? Okay, councillor Cuthbert.
Jeez.
Moves councillor Cuthbert, seconded deputy. Just all in favour? Aye. Against? Okay. Now on, moving on to item 32. Page 82 of our agenda. Tanya, again, you didn't have to leave the podium.
Yep, it's me again. This is an information report. Last week, was it last week or the week before? The week before, we had a couple of workshops where we covered, oh, kia ora, Anne. There's Anne. Yeah, we covered the environmental scan, well, the royal we, Anne took us through the environmental scan, and we had Nick present from Infometrics, present us with the rates affordability study. Just want to acknowledge the great questions that Councillor Jeffrey sent through, and we have got some answers for you, but we'll just send those back out to you. Is that okay? Unless you want to raise anyone in particular here, but Nick and Anne have worked together to provide some answers to that.
I'd appreciate that. Thanks, Tony. And if you could copy the rest of the
Oh, I
council.
will.
Then. Yeah,
Yep.
that's great. Thank you.
Yep. So, so we've said when we presented the workshop that these documents, in particular the environmental scan, is what we're calling an organic document, and it may change. It is likely to change because it basically has a kind of a state of the nation report on how things are in our community, in our nation, and globally. And of course, those things change a lot. So we will come back to the environmental scan as we take you through the long-term plan process. And if there are any changes that we feel need to be made to that, then we'll do that. Interestingly enough, Anne might want to speak to this. Were you on in a call with other strategic planners, and some of them have requested a copy of our environmental scan. We're going to sell it, aren't we? Make some money. I think we've had some interest in our environmental scans. So that's all I want to say. Anne, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
No, very happy to answer any questions, but I think probably as we're all really aware at the moment, the oil shocks are another new level to what's been prepared for you. And it just shows you how quickly these major geopolitical things really change and affect every part of our community.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So happy to take any
Any questions? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Christian, for moving this information report. And it's seconded by Councillor Jeffries.
I'll second it before Councillor Carr does.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Quickly put your hand up if you want to. We've done all the big decisions anyway now. Information. And thanks, Anne. Thanks, Tanya. And it's very comprehensive reading. Moving on to the money man, Brendan. Item 33, page 143.
Yes, thank you. So this is our monthly financial report. I say monthly, but I think it's only the second one I've done since the new council has sat because of various events. But this, covers up to the end of February this year. Basically a month ago today. I guess overall we're in a good financial position. Slightly up on budget in terms of our surplus at the moment. A lot of that probably to do with the subsidy that we're getting at a higher rate for the emergency works that we're doing on the roading that Mark alluded to earlier. Moving on, in terms of expenditure, we're slightly up on budget in terms of our other expenses, but down in other places such as employee costs and interest costs. In terms of our balance sheet, so we're in a healthy position in our balance sheet as well at the end of February. About $9.6 million of current assets, and only about $3.3 million of current liabilities. And our cost of service statement, so I explained this last time, this is similar to our income statement, but it presents it in a different way. So it's by group of activities, which is when we get to the LTP, that's the way we group things in our long-term plan. And so again, this shows that we're in a good position there in terms of capital. yeah, in a pretty good place there as well in terms of spending compared to our budget. And cash flow on the following page just shows obviously money coming in and out. You can see that we've got $3 million of borrowings that we've taken on this year, nothing repaid at this year. Just realised that says prepayment, not repayment. I've never noticed that. So I'll fix that up. Now, having said that, we have actually repaid some loans, but it was done through a refinancing. So we repay and then take on borrowing to cover it. So we don't show that because it's not really a cash flow in and out of our account. And then just the last bit just shows the debt profile. So as I've mentioned there, we took on some additional borrowings back in October because of the flood event then, or the storm event then, to cover that upfront cost we were going to have to spend before we got the subsidy from NZTA. They like to wait until we spend money before they give us the money. So we have to spend it first. A lot of that, I believe, is now sort of done, and we claimed all that subsidy. So that's allowing us to basically carry that $3 million over this February event and use that to fund the upfront costs we're going to pay there, which also includes the insurance deductibles on the material damage policy and the infrastructure policy around water and building assets that have been affected also. So that's very high level finance report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
We've got a question, Councillor Butcher.
Through you, Chair. Hey, Brendan. Hey, can you just remind us on oh, I've lost myself here. Where am I? In other expenses.
Yes.
On page 145, what other expenses are within other expenses?
It's everything that doesn't fit the other categories, basically.
So quick little example.
So it's things like stationery, it's things like staff training, but that's just small stuff. There's some consultants for various things might be in there that doesn't fit specifically within. Yeah, so consultants, for example, will be another one that's in there. Insurance is separate, yes. I'm just trying to think. It's basically anything, yeah, anything that doesn't fit anything else. I'm trying to think what are some big things. So yeah, wow, they're not that big.
Okay, that's a big amount though, isn't there?
No,
Yeah.
not in the village. Not very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's everything else. It's cleaning this building. It's yeah, all our cleaning contracts, waste contracts actually. So some of those are in there. Yes, there's a few contracts in there as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Lots. Councillor Jeffries.
Thanks, Your Worship. Brendan, just a request more than the full year's budget figure shows a deficit of 2.266 mil. Yep. Does that include any budget amendments during the year? No, so that's what was set as part of the annual plan, in this case, or long-term plan. Right. So would it be possible to, at some stage, just show what the budget amendments approved during the year are, so that we can? Have we had many?
Yes.
No, I guess the only ones that which wouldn't show on this particular the statement of revenue and expenses would be carryovers and capital. That is reflected in the cost of service statement, the combined cost of service statement. Those are reflected in there, the carryovers. I don't believe there's been anything where there's been things where you've potentially approved expenditure, but we haven't actually approved a budget for it. It might just be that expenditure, like we've just done with the recovery and the deductibles and
Waiving the
insurance. That's you've approved the expenditure for that, but we haven't actually done any budget adjustments to reflect that. Yeah. So I can't think of any off the top of my head for this year where we've done that. Possibly in the past year. Right. I guess would there be some for like the current event that we've just had? Would there be a budget amendment for that? Again, probably not a budget. We wouldn't put a budget amendment in, but we would just reflect. We've talked about how we're going to fund the actual cost. Yes. We probably wouldn't amend budgets to reflect that. Okay. Right. Yeah. So you'll just show that it's either go over
a variance. We just explain a variance usually, but I'm trying to think of what we might have approved outside of their budget.
Yes, potentially with some of the contracts we may elect,
yeah.
may have approved more.
Some of
But
them,
again, we
most of
we
them, we
don't
stick
usually,
them through the annual plan.
yeah, we don't usually adjust the budget, we just reflect it. So I reflect it as a variance or something. Yeah. Okay, no, that's cool, thanks. Cool.
Deputy Mayor.
Just, you know how Joe just asked about the other expenses?
Yes.
If there was a need, like not a need, if there was a want
Yeah.
to deep dive into that, you can break that down, eh?
Yeah, I have that broken down. I
Yeah,
just don't break
Yeah,
down
I
here.
thought you
'Cause
did, but
it-
I just thought, yeah, no.
Actually, yeah, I was gonna suggest that maybe we send something out to the councillors that
Let's
gives
just
them
bring
an
that.
idea of what's in there.
That
That's
would be
easy to
cool.
do.
And then the other question is, just remind
Mhm.
youth initiatives, is that the employment hub and Thrive? Or is that
Yeah.
Rangatahi, the Tuia program, or like?
I sent that email out last time when you asked that. Remember, I sent an email to all of you explaining what that was.
Yes.
Does anyone remember that email? Please, I don't, sorry.
So the
Sorry,
bulk
Tanya.
bulk of it is, yes, Mayor's Task Force Jobs or Employment Hub. Yeah, the money to thrive is also included in that. I don't think I include the Rangatahi because it's kind of small.
Tuia.
Tuia, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a kind of small amount, so it's just lumped in with governance. But those I think are the two big ones off the top of my head.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yep.
Yes.
Is those areas like youth initiatives and the grants, is that underspending due to timing? Or is it not, are we not quite delivering? Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, so I guess the youth initiatives, part of that is because, so there's a couple of things there. One is we haven't given the second tranche of the grant to the the contractor at this point, because they have to reach certain criteria, a number of people before they're entitled to their second one. I believe they've now hit that, and so they're doing an invoice to us shortly. So that will probably be reflected in March. The other thing is that when the budget was done for this is before we knew how much we were getting from the government. So we based the budget on what we'd got the previous year. And I believe they then reduced how much we were getting. So therefore the budget's actually a bit higher than we're going to get anyway. The grants and subsidies side, the second round of the grants, the $100,000 community grants is coming up soon, I believe, or yeah, so that will then obviously come through there. Some of those other grants and subsidies might be things we only do twice a year, and so they haven't come yet. Yeah, so it's partly timing, partly possibly over budgeting as well in some cases.
And that tranche, that would be the employment hub, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
So I found the email, I've just recirculated it to everyone. 271,000 for Mayor's Task Force, 30,000 for Thrive, 6 for Enviro Schools.
Oh, Enviro School.
Any more questions? Deputy Mayor Christian's going to move some information to talk to. And it's going to be seconded by Councillor Tunke. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. What's great? Give breath. I was just thinking we were going to make it new and make them all go up there and present. Well, no, we'll just go around the table. We'll go online first. Councillor Kitty, can you please give us your update for the councillor updates, please?
Okay. Yep, I was invited to a meeting at Ōtorohanga regarding to support Mātua Tom Roa's audit of merit that's coming up soon. Some of us have been invited, so that was really cool. And then they actually dipped into flooding. So I was very professional and had to represent us in that situation. That was quite informal, but questions were firing. It was successful. I think it was great. went to Waipapa Makatupokai with the council. Have heard great things from all the whānau and the hapu and the iwi, and they are so extremely pleased to have you all there, especially you, Mia, Rodney, for your first year. So congratulations, and bigs ups to Cassidy because his kōrero was absolutely beautiful and everybody is just in love with him. So well done to us. That's awesome. Bus tour, and then just lots of meets and greets with our flooded families, just face to face, just saying hello and stuff. And then I had a catch up with Kathy Shaw regarding her thoughts on our SOE state of emergency. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carr.
Yep. So obviously the district road trip, which was informative, lots of narrow relief meetings, which have been really good. Risk and insurance yesterday, and I've caught up with a couple of my constituents, for want of a better phrase, just for a bit of a kōrero. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Butcher.
Kia ora all. Correct me if I'm wrong, since the last meeting, which was the 24th of February, we went to LGNZ. No? Oh, sorry, me. Yeah, to connect with all the councillors that were on the LGNZ conference, and also the information that came out of that. And then the pokai at Ōkapu Marae, that was an awesome morning. Days, that was great, reconnecting with the whole district and who we are. And then a risk insurance meeting yesterday, and I don't think the mayor's going to invite me back to go to the Warriors again because we got all kitted out in our gear and we lost.
Yeah. Yeah. Councillor. Hang on. Please turn that. Turn the mic on.
I don't like the button. Went to the LGZ meeting in Wellington. I had a meeting at QQ Hall with the residents with the mayor, which was reasonably progressive, I would say. Quite a few meetings with Shane and etc. on the Merrill Fund, the bus tour, which was pretty eye-opening. We've got a great area. I think very underrated. And risk insurance meeting.
Councillor Farkley.
I also attended the hui in Wellington for LGNZ, and I went to the Fire Brigade Centennial, which my daughter now has an obsession with fire trucks, so that's super cool. And then the 2-day district bus tour, which was awesome. I got to visit some areas of our district that I'd never been before. So very enlightening, and awesome to see some more of our beautiful district. Phillips had pizza night to connect with the flood victims, and on Friday went to the Zone 2 meeting. And we didn't actually have a community board meeting this month, but we had a casual catch up instead, and just spoke about some of the projects that we'd like to sort of focus on going forward.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
I went down to LGNZ the day before everyone else came down. I went to the Mayor's Task Force meeting in place of Mayor Rodney, which was really cool. And Claire, whose surname escapes me, the New Zealand Commissioner for Children, amazing speaker. And I apologise, I need to share the website with you all so that you can sign the letter about, I'll share it with you and you'll get the gist. It's amazing. Signing the letter, more or less saying that you support children and you're there for them. I was in awe of her. She's definitely the right person for the job. And then the next 2 days spent with fellow councillors at the conference for LGNZ. I was part of Tanya's review, which was really cool, and obviously the workshop that we had on the 10th. I went to the Rural Women's Centennial Lunch in Te Awamutu in the place of Mayor Dow, which was, lovely. I got to sit next to John. and talk amalgamation, which I really told him I'm not in support of. And then we, the bus tour, which was awesome. For me, it was more about the team building because I've been on them before. So yeah, I think we're building a really strong team. So that's really cool. And what else? I've had an Elevate meeting, the pizza night down Phillips Ave, Zone 2 last Friday. Our catch up on the 24th, which I think we were all just about here for, that no one mentioned. Which was really good. And we had one yesterday pre-meeting, but there was just Mike, me and Rodney. So that was cool.
Thank you, Councillor Woodward.
Only the elite turned up for that one. Yeah. Good. So look, the others attended that local government meeting down in Wellington. Great to be along for that and see the change that they're trying to bring. But also great to connect with the other councillors that have been down. It's always that after hours stuff that helps form a team up. The ESC review as well. Very well, and their bus trip was just, yeah, it was really good. I think the ability to see who we are looking after was awesome, and yeah, probably yeah, something I recommend for previous for subsequent inductions as well. So and then yeah, I think other than sort of most weeks in here working with you guys, it's better.
Thank you. Councillor Timothy.
Well, yeah, we lost that. So being a part of the Mirror Disaster Relief Fund, that's been really cool. We've given lots of money away. Attended Waipapa Marae Baikai Maketu, didn't get out to Okapu, had kapaka. Bus tours were cool, citizenship. Attended the opening of the Mangaoa Kiwa storyboards, real cool. Tried to attend the Mangati Bridge Karakia, but I was on the wrong side of the bridge, so I was there, but I was just on the wrong side. Without nobody saw me. Had a wānanga out at Te Kauri Lodge with some rangatahi from Kāwhia, about 16 rangatahi and 6 adults pakeke, around educating them on hauora in our ngāhere, and also looking at a partnership with Doc, the naturalists that run Te Kauri Lodge and Mana Whenua. Attended the Te Maruata Hui online. Lots to talk about if you watch the recording of Papa Pete, which is Dani Moya's Papa for Taranaki. Very interesting, so lots to talk about at Te Maruata. Attended the karakia at Te Kirikiri, which is the new building complex that has been built by Tini Henui in partnership with the Crown and Te Kuiti. So that's starting off. Attended a hui with the Wintec partnership and what the interim framework looks like for us to partnership with Wintec within the rohe. So Ōtorohanga, Te Kuiti, Pio Pio, Tai Marinui. Supported some rangatahi when they did their submission for the road, speeds of the road through the village of Ōparure, taking it down from 100k to 50k. So that was really cool. So real cool kōrero around visionaries and that space for them to build signs and stuff. And attended or did online social media for our GNZ hui and how it affects women. Watched a couple of webinars and I think, and then turned up today. So, kia ora.
Councillor Jeffries.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, 3rd of March we had our LGFA guarantee meeting. 5th of March, the Hamilton Airport Shareholders Day, which I thought was excellent. They're doing a great job, the leadership team there. I think Mark Morgan and his crew, and Barry Harris as chair. They seem to be turning that place over nicely, and it seems to be going from strength to strength. talking with Peter Stubbs yesterday, he was saying that with the fuel crisis, that a number of domestic services have been reduced from Hamilton Airport, but it hasn't affected the internationals at this stage, which is good. So that afternoon, 5th of March, we had the community board meeting at Kāwhia. 10th of March, we had a workshop here. And then, of course, the Pokais, 10th, the 12th, 13th and 14th of March was Waipapa, Makatu and Okapu. Okapu was I thought was extra special in some ways because it was not just poker, I think it was just the opening of their new buildings. And for me, being an ex-brass band member, it was actually cool to hear the Ratana band marches on. That was quite neat. So that was a very good day, though they did have an issue with parking there. Yeah, but I don't think they expected the crowd they got, to be honest. It was a huge crowd. The 17th and 18th of March, we had the district tours, the east side on the day one and west on day two, and it sort of gave you a greater appreciation of the diversity of the landscapes, if you like, in our district. When you look at some of the farmland out this side and how beautiful and the contours of the land and everything, and then you go out this way and you're looking at some tiger country out here. So you get a cross section of the topography, if you like, of the district. And I think it was Taylor said that she got an appreciation of going to areas that she had not been to before. I think we travelled a few roads on the eastern side that I'd never seen before either. So that was really good. Enjoyed that. And then the risk and assurance meeting yesterday. So which was, I thought, quite a fruitful meeting. Got a bit done yesterday. So so that was me. Thank you very much.
Just wanted to ask, Marakupa's poka, so tēnā koe, Mrs. K, that was Saturday, and then what are we, Tuesday? Sunday was Te Kuitipa, so.
Oh, yeah, and I forgot, obviously, the LGNC conference, and we'll be delighted to know I was on my best behaviour.
What I heard.
Yeah.
I didn't bring the council with a district into disrepute.
Yeah, not what I heard anyway. Thank you for that. Everyone's been very busy. Then we're going to move on to the resolution register, page 153.
Okay. well,
Tania's presenting again.
Thank you. We'll quickly move through these. So we're recommending that C22 and C25 stay on the register because we've still got work to do there. C34, the road naming, we're recommending it be removed because that's in progress. C35 and C35 and C35.
It's 36 and one, isn't it?
Oh, 36. Both road closures, so they are in train, and so we'll move those. And then the Merrill contribution to the Merrill Disaster Relief Fund, we're suggesting that be removed. So 34, 35, 36, 37 be removed from the register.
Yep, I'll move.
Thank you. Move Councillor Jeffries. Second Councillor Woodward. All in favour? Carried. Right. Now we're going to move on to item 34. Do we close the public meeting?
So you move that recommendation.
Yeah, no, I've got that, but I'll be closing the public meeting. Would you do? Okay.
So yeah, put the recommendation.
So we're going to move, to item 34. I might be advised because it's done it perfectly for me. Exclude the public for item PE5. And I move that the public be excluded from the following part of the proceedings of this meeting. It's in relation to section 48(1)(a) of the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987. We want to consider item P5, the chief executive 6-month performance review and protect the privacy of natural persons under the Act. So seconded, Councillor Tamaki. All in favour? Carried.